thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Travis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
We love you. Love you.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the move. So we tune in to First Things First with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First. And my first thing today, tomorrow, the next day, and the day after that is giving thanks to God. Asking for God's blessings, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. It's Friday light around here, so this is how we do it. We do it this way. Reparations is on the table every Friday. That's what we do. That way we don't forget. We never forget, and we stay up to date. So we call our Fridays Freedman Fridays. And that's what we'll do in our second hour of the show, focus on reparations. We have many voices from different communities, schools of thought, and most of those folks are doing something that we ought to know about to move this reparations issue down the field. We'll be hearing today from Ali Bay. It should be quite an interesting conversation. Third hour of the show, the phone lines are open and you got your amnesty. If you want to call in and talk to me, you can. And if you don't, that's all good too. Don't forget, you're welcome in our conversation through the comments section on YouTube. It's youtube.com, KBLA 1580. And you'll find Molly Bell. I call her the chairwoman of the chat, but I'm pretty sure she hasn't accepted that title. But I call her that anyway. You can find her and other brilliant minds there having a comments conversation. You can also tap in on any of the social medias. It's KBLA 1580 on every platform. I am at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. Hour one. It's every other Friday. It's always every other Friday. This every other Friday, it's Ed Sanders' turn. He is the president of ES Advisors, a KBLA contributor. and a longtime community organizer. Good morning, Ed Sanders.
Dominique, good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy
How
Friday
are you
to
doing?
you.
Hope things are well.
Oh, I'm good. I'm blessed. Me and Miles are trying to get packed and get ready for our trip to the motherland. And we got a lot to organize. So, I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain. I keep hearing about the trip from others, and it only makes me realize I've got to commit and get on one of those trips, because the responses and the anticipation of those that are getting ready to go is so high. But from those that have gone before, the reactions have been inspiring.
Oh yeah, I
So
think
I've
one
gotta
of your
get myself
friends.
on with
I think
those.
one of your friends is going with us this year. We won't name any names, but I think someone you know well. Yeah, and I feel good. I feel like at this time it takes intentionality to stay good and stay positive. I'm not going to lie to you, Ed Sanders. I am and was very disturbed by what happened with Senator Padilla yesterday. I was really troubled by that. Senator Padilla was in a press conference with Homeland Security Barbie, Kristi Noem, and he tried to ask a question, and they roughed him up and took him out of the room and handcuffed him. It was giving dictatorship for me.
Yeah, it was one of those things that derailed yesterday's plan of action, right? It was one of those news events where, you start talking to people watching the news, trying to figure out, man, what is going on? We've talked about Alex before. I hold Alex in very high regard. I remember when he was a city council member here in Los Angeles. He was the president of the city council.
Wasn't he like the
Alex,
youngest city council person ever, or something like that? It's something ridiculous like that. And
something like that,
yeah.
right? Incredibly smart, incredibly bright. And not a small guy. Alex is not. He's got to be at least 6'3", 6'4", if not 6'5".
He's one of the giants like you, Ed. One of the top giant, says the 5'2" woman on the mic. Yeah.
So watching those guards push him back out of the room like that, it lets you know sort of the amount of force that they were using on him. And just the thought of it was, it's all these different debates. The gall of any security, whether you're defending a president, whether you're defending a secretary, to actually put hands on a U.S. senator
and handcuffs on a U.S. senator.
Exactly.
I mean, the thing about it is
wild.
Okay, so put this in context. You've worked on many a campaign. You've worked in the offices of electeds. How unusual is it for a sitting U.S. senator to be roughed up and cuffed like that?
Well, generally those guys, when they're out in public, have, their own sergeant-at-arms security detail, right? So there's very little opportunity for, one lonely person to approach a U.S. senator and be physical with them. In the videos, I never did see where Alex had, his security detail with him or not. I don't know what that looks like, but that's really where the conversation went. Like, what if he did have a security detail? The sergeant of arms is not under the control of the president, it's under the control of the Senate. Although Republican controlled as well, those always put some interesting sort of TV moments. You could see a room of folks, pointing guns at each other and who stands down and all that sort of stuff. That's the made for TV moment, right? The politics of it is really where we're focused, and it is this disrespect from the Homeland Security's detail to lay hands on a senator, and that's a really big point for Americans, right? You don't touch a U.S. senator. I draw a distinction between a senator and a representative in the House. You don't touch.
I mean, there's only a handful of senators. It's a highly prestigious office. Not anyone gets to be a senator. Plus.
And they wield an immense amount of power, right? Their ability to hold bills, hold nominations. Senators hold a great deal of power. So to see that, what you really sort of infer is what you see in some of the articles this morning is how a Trump administration, Homeland Secretary, simply didn't respect Alex Padilla as a U.S. senator.
And they're lying because she's trying to say that he didn't have his pin on and she didn't know who he was, and he lunged at her and didn't identify himself. If you listen to the tape, he's going, "I am Senator Alex Padilla." Not to mention your not too bright behind should know who the senators are. I mean, you shouldn't need an ID.
Everyone in D.C. knows who the senators are.
Right.
That's not a plausible what she did is she did, the white woman tears thing. He lunged at me, and that, for those of us on this show and listening to this show, we know that excuse. That has meant plenty of black men going to jail and punishment for minorities when a white woman says something like that.
Yeah, lethal.
And that's exactly what she did in this case. And,
I mean, so this was, I guess, Secret Service that dragged him down. And if I've also, it's not like I kick it with his wife and kids, but I have known Senator Padilla for a long time. He is what we would call mild-mannered. First of all, I mean, obviously he's a U.S. citizen. He's born here, raised here, but he's an engineer. He graduated from MIT. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, no offense, but if they had been tussling with former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, I would understand it more. Villaraigosa, he's from the hood, right? I mean, not saying he would lunge at Kristi Noem, but, it might be a little bit more credible. Alex Padilla is like the guy you cheated on his test from. You know what I mean? He's like brainiac nerd guy. I mean, no disrespect, Mr. Senator, but it is the last person in the world that would lunge at the Homeland Security director.
Oh, I'm not gonna. Listen, I almost disagree with you here. I think Alex is.
Go ahead and disagree. It's all good.
Yeah, Alex is the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
He's an MIT grad. He is incredibly bright, but Alex is a fighter. He's not. I wouldn't characterize him as the nerd guy. He is mild-mannered.
Mild-mannered, right?
In how he speaks,
and humble,
right?
and humble, really.
Yeah, he's very
more than nerdy. Yeah, he's humble. Mm-hmm.
But I've seen him get upset and fired up on different issues, and sometimes it always raises your eyebrow to see a great deal of emotion from him. But yeah, no, I would characterize him as a fighter more than anything.
Well,
he's just the guy. He's just the guy from the neighborhood that hit the books.
I mean, you've probably seen him more than I have, so I'll concede on that. You might be right. My experience with him has always been a humble, mild-mannered, super smart, very committed, friendly person, and just not someone that would run up on a Homeland Security secretary. Now, was he trying to get a question answered? Yes. I was in conversation with someone I know who is Chicano, and he was making excuses, saying, well, Senator Padilla was being disruptive, so they had to take him out. No, that is not how it works. That's not how America works.
Yeah, I look, there's both points there, right? There was a press conference going by the Homeland Secretary, and for whatever that's worth, if the U.S. Senator was holding a press conference here and someone was disruptive, you would try to escort them out.
It's not someone. It's a U.S. Senator, and they're like she's a secretary. They're both on the highest echelons of government. They're supposed to show each other respect. It's not like he was screaming and throwing things. He was asking a question.
But to be fair to, and I'm not trying to carry water for them. It's very similar to when the president Obama was delivering the State of the Union speech, and that Republican rep blurted out in the middle, right? There's certain protocols, just you don't disrupt that.
That's a terrible comparison, Ed. One is senator. The State of the Union, which is on all TV. It's in chambers. The other is a press conference where reporters and others shout out questions all the time. Very different environment. I don't think that you lie thing that happened to Obama, that was unprecedented. To have someone ask a question at a press conference is not unprecedented. It's normal.
Was it in the question and answer?
No, but it's still it's not. No, it wasn't in the Q&A, but it's a press conference, which is where people ask questions, and he's a sitting senator. You might not have liked it, but it's not a disruption to the level of carry him out of the room.
I agree with that. Listen, I don't agree that at any point, at any point, physically removing a U.S. senator is wrong. I think the point that your friend was making was that in the situation, the disruption to the press conference was also somewhat antagonistic or, sort of provocative. And that's a fair statement. But I don't have an issue with that. I do have an issue with them physically removing him, right? There's ways to handle disruption. She should have just answered the question and dealt, with the U.S. senator.
Right, or said,
the U.S. senator walks to you and asks a question. There, you should have an answer.
Right, or you just say, yes, Senator Padilla, I'll be happy to answer your question in our Q&A part in just a moment. You don't. Okay. 800-920-1580 if you have an opinion on this. We obviously have a lot to talk about. Ed Sanders, Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews.
Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe.
Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So, head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, these polymers aren't as flexible as batch K3.
Researcher Laurie is stretched thin.
Did you get the vulcanization analytics from V66? Oh, wait, are these rubber scores from last week?
She needs to hire new lab technicians so she can bounce back into her old self.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Ed Sanders, man, so there's so much to cover on the national and local fronts. But I think we both got caught up talking about Senator Padilla because we know him, not just as a person, but also for the work that he does. He's been an incredibly effective lawmaker. A judge had ruled that Trump taking over the National Guard was illegal, and that he had to turn control of the National Guard back over to Governor Gavin Newsom. Well, last night, late at night, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals paused that court order, and now the president will retain control of the National Guard at least through the weekend. That three-judge panel had 2 Trump appointees, 1 Biden appointee, and they will hear the case on Tuesday. So that means that the National Guard will be under the control of the president through the weekend. Bad news for the No Kings protests that are scheduled for Saturday. But what do you make of this back and forth? And the LA Times says that Donald Trump has given Gavin Newsom a gift by allowing the governor to have the national spotlight in this moment.
Yeah, I think there are a couple issues to unpack there, and one to really keep our eye on. The first is the authority to control the National Guard. Typically, the National Guard has been called up by governors in the state in times of emergency. I think this is the first time in quite some time, if I remember right, since Lyndon Johnson's administration, since a president called up the National Guard, it raises all sorts of questions around domestic military use. And, generally, Trump has just been testing this line of how far you'll go with using military operations on the citizens of the United States. Also this weekend is this celebration of the 250th birthday of the military, or whatever it is. We know it to be Donald Trump's birthday military parade, right? And, this is another element of, this military review is more authoritarianism on display. And it's very real.
Kim Jong Trump is what it's giving for me.
Yeah. The court order and what I see is really sort of the real thing to watch is the Ninth Circuit in general. The Trump administration and the Project 2025, whatever you call them, demons, have their eye on abolishing the Ninth Circuit. And, I imagine that these cases in the Ninth Circuit are going to give, the Republicans the continued fodder to try to abolish the Ninth Circuit. And, the Ninth Circuit has generally been, the most progressive of the federal judge circuits. And in that, we've seen some victories at the federal level in the Court of Appeals through the Ninth Circuit compared to some of the other circuits, right? And they've tried to remake it through appointments, but in general, I think they want to abolish it, and they can do that through an act of Congress. And somehow, I think these turn of events actually give them that opportunity to try to advance that legislation.
Even though they're saving Trump's behind here, I mean, the Ninth Circuit is the one that overturned the judge's ruling because the judge had ruled he had to give control back to Newsom. And I know that the way that works is there's a collection of judges, and then 3 of those make a ruling in a situation just such as this. I don't know how many Trump appointees there are on that court, but I think that there are more now. In other words, that court, which has had a reputation, to your point, for being progressive or liberal, is now going the other way.
That it is. And whether it goes to a conservative sort of roster of judges, that's one way to get rid of it. The other way is, and if they feel like they've got control of it, then they've got control of it. But if they felt like they didn't have control of it, and those appointments are lifetime appointments, they could very easily vote to just abolish the Ninth Circuit. And so, I throw that out there. It's one of those inside baseball legal strategies. But when we talk about everything that's going on, it is this Project 2025, right? And while everything is happening, we can get caught up in these individual, moments, but these moments are part of their playbook, right? And, the playbook was stated, it was put out as part of his campaign. And that was one of the elements that folks in that world have looked at, is how to abolish the Ninth Circuit.
That's Ed Sanders. I'm Dominique DiPrima. 800-920-1580. That's the number if you want to get in a little bit on the national, perhaps when we come forward, just because it's Freedman Friday. So we'll talk about it on the third hour, but not next hour. We'll be talking reparations. And, of course, the attack on Iran by Israel is scary for me. I mean, we've got a scary stuff going on and plenty of things to distract us over here in the United States, but a ever-broadening war in the Middle East is not good news for anybody, to be honest with you. It sounded like that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was trying to distance us from Israel's actions. Now, this morning, seems like Trump is dragging us into it. Want to hear your thoughts on that and more when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Senator Alex Padilla is speaking out after being handcuffed at a Homeland Security event in L.A.
There was no threat. There was no lunging. I raised my voice to ask a question, and it took maybe half a second before multiple agents were on me.
Padilla says if it can happen to a senator, it can happen to anyone. Video shows him forced to the ground. Lawmakers from both parties are calling the incident shocking. The U.S. Supreme Court is reviving a black Georgia woman's lawsuit over a botched FBI raid. Trina Martin says agents raided the wrong Atlanta home in 2017. Lower courts tossed her case, but the justices unanimously ruled it deserves a second look. And it's Friday the 13th, and that's enough to spook millions of Americans. Some won't work, dine out, or even get married today. Experts say the fear comes from the unlucky combo of Friday and the number 13, both long tied to bad luck in folklore. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is your concrete cracking? Is your uneven walkway dangerous? Do you need to level that concrete porch or patio? Contact Groundworks, the concrete lifting experts. Riverside, get your free inspection today. Learn more at groundworks.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA Finals resumes tonight with Game 4 in Indianapolis. The Indiana Pacers are up 2-1 over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Before the finals, OKC was a heavy favorite to win the NBA championship. A lot of chatter is circulating around the country now favoring Indiana. Folks believe if Indiana wins tonight, they will take a huge step toward winning their first NBA title in franchise history. Not many people believe OKC can beat the Pacers 3 straight times if they lose tonight. 5:30 tip-off on ABC. The Dodgers and Angels are back in action tonight. The Dodgers start a 10-game homestand tonight. First game is against San Francisco. The Angels begin a 7-game road trip tonight at Baltimore. Angels manager Ron Washington, one of only 2 black managers in Major League Baseball, has seen his team play pretty well lately. The Angels are 7-3 in their last 10 games. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Every mother deserves a healthy and joyous pregnancy and birth, and every baby deserves to thrive. That's why the Los Angeles County Abundant Birth Project is here. The Abundant Birth Project is a guaranteed income program that provides cash during pregnancy to pregnant individuals at the highest risk of preterm and low birth rate babies. Although program enrollment has closed, our commitment to Black joy and thriving continues. Through tailored services that foster mental well-being and community-based resources, we provide care and support during pregnancy and after the baby is born to help build brighter futures for our families. Join us in celebrating abundant births in LA County. For more information, please visit abundantbirthproject.org. abundantbirthproject.org.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
Love you. Love you.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do appreciate you. You're waking up with me, waking up with Ed Sanders. I'm going to try to squeeze in a second half of our first hour. Bunch of stuff, because there's a lot of things I want to run by you. Israel launching attacks on Iran yesterday. The Israeli authorities say they attacked nuclear capabilities of Iran. And Secretary of State Rubio put something out saying, basically, this wasn't us. Don't retaliate against us. But today, Donald Trump is opening his mouth and saying Iran better make a deal to limit their nuclear capabilities, and while there's still something left. Meanwhile, people are out in the streets, what I'm seeing in the New York Times, protesting and demanding a retaliation against Iran. They were attacking, Israel was attacking all day, and they claim this was years in the making. it seems like Israel is on the offensive. I mean, it seems like they were trying to take over the entire region. And I don't see how that doesn't, if they continue the aggression, I don't see how that doesn't end up in a wider conflict.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there is already a conflict, and I think what, to your point about Marco Rubio's comments, what has always been clear is there really is no light between Israel and the United States, right? And so if Marco Rubio says that wasn't us, everyone in the world knows that if Israel moves, it moves with the United States. And whether or not, when Rubio says it wasn't us, if Israel acted, they have already drawn us into a conflict. And that's one of the reasons why, for us in the United States, it's always important to understand Israeli politics, right? Because of just that dynamic, that, our sons and daughters can be drawn into a military conflict by our relationship with allies, and in this case, Israel. The politics in Israel are important because Netanyahu is a hardliner. He is, he is aggressive, and he is using, military force. We've seen the response in Gaza. They have, repeatedly talked about preemptive strikes with Iran, and I think what you're seeing here is just that. And so, the politics of Israel that drives Netanyahu to that are really important to sort of understand from our perspective, because it impacts our foreign policy. It plays out locally as well, right? The conversation around how we analyze it, how we talk about it. I think yesterday as well, the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, what did he do? He signed an executive order that clarified how you define, anti-Semitism. And from what I understand, the definition or the working definition of that he used or that he relied upon, has some. It does not allow for criticism of Israel, right? So if you criticize Israel's foreign policy, somehow you are now being anti-Semitic, and that's been a conversation and a debate here in the United States, right? We've seen that over the last 2 years and how it plays out in our lives.
I mean, because those should not be synonymous. Congress has tried the same shenanigan. It shouldn't be synonymous. They're not the same. Criticizing a government is not the same as
universities and our way of life behind it.
No doubt. But it's, and I'm not really sure how you change that, right? But it is an incredibly effective way that the Israeli government has shielded itself from any criticism in this country. Hating Jewish people and being anti-Jewish, the religion, the ethnicity, the culture, is really different than criticizing the Israeli government, which is killing tens of thousands of people in Gaza as we speak. I mean, it's not the same. And and you're right. It's not just Eric Adams. It's universities that have taken this position, and even some anti-hate group kind of organizations that have taken this position. And they're doing it, they're enforcing it, but it's wrong.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a healthy public debate about that, right? Internal to the Jewish community. I know that there is a debate within the Jewish community. I don't think we see it publicly in American life and our popular media. And that's one of those things that I think should be, talked about more, particularly by bringing Jewish scholars up to talk about it. Because I think, to your point about these strikes and what this means for the region, if American treasure and lives are put at risk, that sort of thing, I've always thought that if there's conflict, the American people should clearly understand it. And I don't know that that's the case right now. It feels like the American people don't have a clear grasp of why we're going to it. Now, Americans have a bloodlust, right? Like they just have a bloodlust, particularly for Muslims. And so if you say strike at Iran or in another case, strike at China, I think, Americans are signing up for that in wholesale,
I wonder, I think that's more true of older generations of Americans. I don't think the Gen Z and Gen A have that same mentality, which I remember well after the 9/11 debacle. So that's going to even broaden our internal conflict, I think. Meanwhile, speaking of repression of any critique of Israel, and now in our country, any critique of apparently our immigration policies or anything, we've got these nationwide protests planned for this weekend, and the same day as that military parade, the No Kings protests are meant to be everywhere except for pretty much Washington, D.C., where the birthday parade is taking place. There's 2,000 different cities that are going to have these marches. And with the National Guard in place and the Marines in place in Los Angeles and police departments on 10, right? Because not only have they been unleashed, literally, there's an executive order called Unleashing Law Enforcement, but also we're in the midst of this demonizing of protesters that we've seen by the mainstream media for the past couple of weeks. So what do you expect, and how do you think that all factors in? I would imagine these are going to be pretty strong and large protests given the standoffs around immigration and the immigration enforcement.
Yeah, the political scientist in me is sitting back with a box here to watch, because this is one of those moments in American life where it could very much be like the Kent State debacle years ago during the Civil Rights Movement. You've got these police agencies and forces across the country that are really supercharged, right? Like they're supercharged white supremacists, and we know that. We've talked about this on the show, and I think everyone listening understands the role white supremacy plays in policing. And now you've got, sheriffs that are out there, tough talking. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna run you over. We're gonna sick our dogs on you, right? And so there's the politics of that, where you've got, these elected officials that shape policy, and depending on where you are, it's green light on these protesters. And what unfolds is what we wait to see. The issue is highly personal to people. The degree of energy and concern is really, really high. So protesters are engaging with police in ways that it's not just we're walking, and there are protesters out there that are engaging with police, but police are also amplifying those stories compared to the general protest.
Not only that, they're the ones escalating. They're the ones making 90% of the time, 95% of the time. They're the ones bringing the violence, shooting people with rubber bullets, talking smack, pushing people off sidewalks, which they have a right to be on, and doing too much. We were not protesting, just randomly protesting. The ICE agents came and started snatching people at churches and job sites, and people responded to that. So the Republicans make it sound like LA was just this wild hellscape of protests, and so they had to bring in. No, y'all came and started attacking our citizens and snatching them, kidnapping them off the street, and people responded to that. This is LA. We ain't no punks. You don't just come around here and start snatching our citizens and expect nothing to happen.
I don't disagree with you. But it's that response that everyone is, not everyone, that side of the equation sort of amplifies, picks up, and reacts to. So it's not that it's
they play the
it's
same
not that
clips
it's
over
the
and
start.
over. Yeah,
it's not that it's the start of the conflict or anything. It's happened, and so it gets lifted up, and all that does is embolden and excuse more police force across the country, and that's what you're watching for this weekend, right? I think in a lot of ways, these officers are excited about this. They can't wait to put on their riot gear and go smash heads. It's like a big football game for them. They're excited about.
A big football game is nasty work. Yeah, well, I mean, you picked the wrong one, is all I'm saying. Like, and in reality, now it's spreading to other cities, so now it's harder to just blame Cali. But to your point, I think these are all simply excuses for the Trump administration to high side and try to look presidential. Molly Belt says we shouldn't let nobody drag us into this war. She wants to know what you think. This may be a way for Trump to get to be president unlimited, and that could be true with the war. That could also be true with the war that he's currently waging on protesters. So that everything's out of control, you need a strong man like me, is straight out of every dictator's playbook.
Yeah, it's like the side that I have with this, because it is this, you've watched the Republican Party completely just kneel to everything, right? Watch how this big, beautiful bill unfolds in D.C. This bill that he's put forward should cause every Republican in this country to be, primaried and unelected. This is probably one of the worst pieces of legislation that has ever been introduced, right? And it counters just about every core Republican principle, the amount of debt that it would put, right? But you're seeing nominal pushback to it, and I say that because this question of whether Trump wants to get to a third term or whatever he wants to do, he seems to have the ability to just do it. There isn't pushback from within the party that stops him, and that still resonates with his base, with these average, everyday people. And we've talked about it, and we liken it to the Confederates finally winning the Civil War. And to me, that's what's occurred, right? And so everything is sort of wrapped up in this, we're reestablishing what it is to be an American. It doesn't mean you Black Americans. It does not mean you Latino immigrant Americans. You guys aren't full Americans. What we want is, this is a white country, and that's what we're establishing. And, if that's the primary purpose right now, the Republican Party, what you see is those other interests in the party get in line. And as long as Trump is saying it, they'll go for it. If he wants a third term, they'll do what he wants to get to a third term. Yeah.
I think you're right. I'm laughing to keep from crying right now because it's not cute. It is not cute. 800-920-1580. That's the number to call. And I think, Ed, you make a really solid point in turning our attention back to the big, terrible bill, because a lot of this distraction, shiny object over here, National Guard, we're snatching Padilla, a lot of it may be simply to distract from that terrible, draconian, greedy person's bill that they're currently trying to shove through Congress and down the throats of the American people. 800-920-1580, that's the number if you want to get in. Oh, there's a few more things I'm trying to run by you before we get into our Freedman Friday conversation, Ed. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud.
A great place for progressive politics.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah.
Where
California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Are you ready to play? Then jump into the LA84 Foundation's Free Playday Block Party, a community celebration for all ages, including live music, dancing, LA's pro sports teams, great local food trucks, plus special giveaways for you to take home. Enjoy an exciting, fun-filled day for the entire family. Join us Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2141 West Adams Boulevard. To register, go to la84.org. We'll see you Saturday, June 28th at LA84 Foundation's Free Playday Block Party.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
And look, hopefully you're coming, Ed Sanders, because our KBLA Talk 1580 4th anniversary events are next week. Next week is Juneteenth, and all 4 of our special events are filling up. That means if you have a chance to go to KBLA1580.com to our website, if you do it right now, like right now, you can still get in. You won't be left out. We want to celebrate with you. That's the whole point. So if you're planning to join us for any of those events, they're all free. If you're coming to the Juneteenth barbecue, I know you're coming to that, Ed. If you're coming to that, we're asking everyone to bring a food gift card, any amount, for the victims of the Altadena fire, either a grocery store chain or a restaurant. And yeah, we're trying to still help people who are displaced by the fires. So go to KBLA1580.com. They're all lined up. It tells you what each event is. But, of course, I'm going to be selfish and tell you don't miss mine, which is Saturday, the 21st, of the State of Black Women in L.A. Everyone is invited. I'll be hosting 2 panel discussions. Plus, we'll have lunch together, and we'll do some brainstorming together. Oh, they're all free. You can come to all of them, but we want you to register in advance. And thank you for being part of our KBLA delegation.
Yep. So I love it. I think it is a great way to celebrate 4 big years of KBLA. I think you guys are tackling the right issues, right? You look at the symposium on Black health and climate justice. Those are 2 issues that we gotta spend time to make our bodies healthy, and take that effort, and we've got to take the time to make sure that our environment is healthy and that it works for us. I love that. I particularly love your panel on the state of Black women in LA.
Yeah, well, you can say we, because you've definitely been part of it for all 4 years. Can you believe it's been 4 years already?
You blink, and I hate to even admit that.
Yeah, same. I mean, but also thank you for being part of this effort for the past 4 years. It means a lot.
Well, it's always fun when you're moving around the city and someone, taps you and says, "I heard you on KBLA." That reassures you, right? Like, you guys and KBLA are people are listening to. They get their information. It's especially during times like this with this administration, it helps us to process all that's going on.
Yeah. Well, we're probably not going to get to all this stuff in a timely manner. But there's an article on ABC 7 about how the ICE raids are already starting to hit the agricultural business in Ventura County because farm workers, being chased in fields in Oxnard and elsewhere by ICE agents doesn't make other farm workers want to come to work. And so Tuesday you had ICE agents actually targeting workers on produce farms right here in Ventura County, chasing workers. And you notice Trump is sort of walking this back saying, oh, the farmers are being hurt badly and the hotel workers are being hurt badly. So he's already saying, well, these people, they don't have papers, but they turn out to be pretty good people. Sounds like he's hearing from his friends in business.
Yeah, that's always what's driven him. I mean, what was that movie a couple of years ago? A Day Without a Mexican.
Yeah.
And it was meant to sort of, make you think about just what's happening, right? If the fields are empty and produce is not being picked and delivered, we're going to run into food shortages. The supply side of our food table is impacted. That is a huge concern, right? Getting enough food into a city the size of Los Angeles in an affordable way is something that we should all be concerned with. You think about the farms and the agriculture here in California and how much it supplies to the country. I forget what the stat is, but it's some incredible stat of how many states and people rely on California agriculture for food. And if those fields are empty, you can expect high prices as we move, to the end of the summer. Well, we're going to see high prices on gas. We're going to see high prices on food. And, there's going to be some pain there.
They quote this Arsenio Lopez from Mixteco, an advocacy organization, saying 40% of workers haven't been showing up since those raids.
Yeah, I just imagine what that means to our pocketbooks down the line.
Yeah, not to mention the human beings that were in those fields.
Yeah,
we're really at just a very challenging moment in our history. But I feel like we're going to get through it and we're going to come out stronger. Ed Sanders, it's always great to talk with you. Thank you so much for tapping in.
Dominique, thanks for having me on today. Have a great weekend. Looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. We've got Freedman Friday next. This will be a very interesting conversation on reparations on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Senator Alex Padilla is speaking out after being handcuffed at a Homeland Security event in L.A.
There was no threat. There was no lunging. I raised my voice to ask a question, and it took maybe half a second before multiple agents were on me.
Padilla says